Hey guys. All right, I'm just going to stop the timer here because, well, it's going to be in a second. So, oh my gosh. Sorry, guys. My goodness. Where's the timer? Hello. Go away. There we go. All right. Well, thanks for being here, guys. I'm going to talk about the Magnitsky Act. And you may be saying, what the hell is that? Or maybe you know all about it. Either way, I think it's about time we talked about it. It's one of those things that if you even know about it, you probably don't know the full story about it. And I'll give you an example. For example, there was a story in America where a woman was going through a McDonald's drive-through. She was an elderly lady and the hot coffee spilled on her. And she ended up suing McDonald's and getting money. And there was a big sort of press focus on shaming this woman for suing McDonald's for, oh, just a hot coffee. But the true story of the woman is that she needed skin grafts. She was like an 80-year-old woman. Her insurance stopped covering the medical procedure. She needed skin grafts, and it was in her personal area. So it was and McDonald's was at fault because they were serving coffee that was almost at a boiling point. And because of that case, laws were changed regarding how water temperature is set. Point I'm trying to make is that I always thought the lady was, sue happy because that's what the media says. But then you find out, obviously, it's the opposite of what the media said. It's almost always the opposite. So that's the same thing with the Magnitsky Act. It's the same thing with everything. And this Epstein stuff is just bringing it all home for me again. Like, I'm just having all the flashbacks from 2016. I don't know about any of you guys, but like all of my 2016, like all this, the rabbit holes and things I went down at that time, I'm having all the flashbacks. So I I wanted to talk about Julian Assange because that's another reason why we're here right now. It's not his fault. He's actually a hero. But I don't want to talk about it if nobody's interested. So hopefully people can let me know. This, though, I do want to talk about the Magnitsky Act because I think people should be aware of it. So let's start with this, which is where are we? Here we go.
Of fake and true stories, what to believe.
The time the media gets it wrong, and
the mainstream media is playing this up is that they had an influence in the election. Yeah. There is zero evidence that they actually
gave alternative facts.
Alternative facts are not.
Many people around the world say they no longer trust the mainstream media. Where do you get your information from? The media ask. What can you know without our resources and fact-checking? Well, I've spent a few years checking a story while making a film based on it. In the process, I realized
this is insane what happens here. You have to listen to what this got. This movie was really hard to find in 2016 or 2017. Like you couldn't watch it on YouTube. So I'm excited that it's on here. The whole movie is on here. But wait till you hear the story behind this documentary. This is freaking amazing, okay?
My true story script was based on a fake. I was duped, but so were all the main media in the world. With all their resources and fact-checking, they got it wrong. In this one case, at least.
It is a tale of intrigue and multi-million-dollar corruption.
The story seemed obscure at first. A rich American investor in Russian energy shares was investigated for financial crimes in Russia. His accountant was detained. The investor blamed the scams he was suspected of on the Russian police who'd been investigating him. He said his accountant wasn't an accomplice and not even an accountant, but a lawyer and a whistleblower.
$230 million. Вот схема.
Sergei investigated, proved
the complicity of government officials and police.
This is Mr. Bill Browder, and you should really know his name if you don't. You really should know his name. He's a very interesting character. All right, let's go.
Officers in this enormous financial crime.
Sadly, the accountant then died in prison, according to the forensic report of a heart attack caused by diabetes and hepatitis. His boss, the investor, declared he'd been murdered.
They chained him to a bed and allowed 8 riot guards with rubber batons to beat him for 1 hour and 18 minutes until he died.
The case became a cause célèbre of international politics. The investor, named Bill Browder, spinned the story as a major Russian crime to benefit Putin's friends. Russian tax evasion charges against the investor were declared politically motivated. Laws and resolutions were passed in the name of the dead accountant, Magnitsky.
We've now reached another milestone for Sergei Magnitsky. The legislation sets a precedent for international conduct.
I've always been critical of Russia, but showed in my film that Magnitsky the hero was Browder's fabrication. I was called a liar by the media and politicians. My film stopped from being screened and aired on 3 occasions.
The film by director Andrei Nekrasov, it cannot be previewed tonight.
Whenever I managed to show it, I was attacked after the screening. I was particularly harshly denounced in Russia, which was a shock. In the West, I'd been accused of Russian propaganda.
I gotta stop. This is so freaking hilarious. If you guys don't know this story, and the reason I even there's a lot of reasons why it's coming up right now. One of them is because I'm thinking a lot about my friend Lee Stranahan. He's an investigative journalist. He was really a big writer on this story, and you can't find any of his videos on YouTube anymore. I saw a post from his son that he is in a nursing home. I believe it's in Virginia, and he's not verbal anymore, and he can't use his hands. But he can watch things. And so, I'm hoping to try to get back in touch with him right before he had more strokes. I'm so glad that I called him. I just had this one day, I just decided to call him and he answered. It's insane. And I don't even think that number works anymore. So it was just, anyway, he was a great journalist, and just our friendship, it wasn't anything unusual. I just loved him. I was a fan of his work. And then, I met him at a conference, and then we talked a lot on the phone, and that was really it. But we would talk for hours about all kinds of stuff. So he told me about the Magnitsky Act. That's the whole point of this right here. And let's just take a listen. Essentially, this man, this French guy, was hired, I believe he was French, by Bill Browder and others to do this puff piece on the Magnitsky Act. But as he's going through it, he's realizing that Browder is lying. And so he confronts him with it. Browder runs off the set, and the man goes and starts presenting this documentary. And even in Russia, they're calling him a liar. It shows you, it's like the story of in the Bible with Jesus, or I'm sure any fables. When you speak the truth, people cannot handle it. When you speak the truth before it's time, I guess. But you know what? We're all if you're the person who sees it before it's time, like I do, and I know you guys do too. If you're those people, that's the whole reason why we see it. We have to be the sentinels or whatever. Like, we see it first. We have to be brave enough to call it out. Okay. So, so that's what this Frenchman did. That's what my friend Lee Stranahan did. And let's go.
The world is theatre, Shakespeare said, but is it theatre of the absurd? Will someone check the facts with me, or will let emotions and powers that be decide what's fake and what's not for us?
So the movie is the Magnitsky Act behind the scenes. And like I said, it was going to be a documentary, but when they confronted the main character of the Magnitsky Act, Bill Browder, when they confronted the main character, Bill Browder with some of the things they found out. He literally runs off set. It's ridiculous, like complete coward, right? But it's the true story of the Magnitsky Act is completely fabricated. Or I'm sorry, the true story is it's hard to find because it's been so propagandized and fabricated by this Bill Browder character, who isn't, by the way, even a citizen of the United States. He used to be a citizen of the United States. But you know what? He denounced his citizenship because he doesn't want to pay taxes when he lives abroad and makes money. That's the kind of person this man is. And yet he comes to America because he wants our protection. Okay. It's, in fact, one of the reasons Putin is so pissed off is because of Bill Browder. And here, let me see if this is the clip. I hope it is. Let me show you. I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. Hold on. I'm going to show you a few more things about Bill Browder and the Magnitsky Act, and hopefully you'll understand what I'm trying to say here. All right, let me find. Here we go.
Presidency that I can remember. Here you have an evil dictator, a murderous dictator who is who's been proven to have done all sorts of atrocities all over the world, including killing my lawyer Sergei Magnitsky, asking for the people who are
like let's just stop right here for a second. Prior to Bill Browder starting this sort of like total shade campaign on Putin, like the Cold War was over, guys. I'm just gonna say this guy Bill Browder, in my opinion, he's a lot of the reason why we started become distancing from Putin. A lot of like politics, as you see, is just talk. It's just men swinging their junk around, like who's got the bigger one, right? I mean, that's what it seems like. These guys are. I mean, look at the Epstein files. You'll see it. Jeffrey Epstein is like the consummate intellectual narcissist. I'm just calling it right now. Most of these world leaders are fucking narcissists. Okay, it doesn't mean they're sociopaths, but it does mean they're narcissists. I think you have to be in order to. I mean, Jesus, if you're running the Russian Empire, it kind of probably does feel like you are. The world is all about you. You know what I mean? You can be the main character if you're running the Russian Empire. It's kind of hard not to feel that way. I guess that's the whole trick, though, right? Once you get to that point, do you let your ego rule and do perverted things and not care about killing innocents? I mean, America is not doing a good job with that. Our leaders aren't, that's for sure. And so Bill Browder spouting all this about Putin, that's really the only stuff I ever heard bad. And then people just, yeah, Russia's bad, Russia's bad. And it's just, I mean, the Cold War had ended, guys. So let's just think about it. Anyway, let's listen.
who have been involved in one way or another in trying to hold him to account to basically be handed over to the Russian authorities. And if I were to be handed over, I would be killed in Russia. But what's in a certain way more shocking about this is that there's 10 U.S. citizens on this list who are other than the ambassador, who everybody knows. There's a number of nameless people that who have been toiling away on behalf of the U.S. government in Congress, in the State Department, in the Department of Homeland Security, fighting Russian organized crime, fighting Putin's bad actions. And now the president of the United States is going to hand over people who have been in the service of the United States government for their country to the Russians who they've been trying to stop.
Okay, I just got to pause it there. You have to understand, and this, when I first heard this story, it was hard for me to grasp, but I've known this story now for 10 years. So, but when I first heard it, I'm like, I don't quite get it, Lee. Like that, I don't understand. But it is an important story to understand. And so it's worth trying to stick with it. And if you already know the story, I'm curious if you know what they call the backstory, because that's what Lee's show was. But it's just interesting. So essentially, this press conference right here got Bill Browder all up in an up tizzy because uh Putin when Trump was asking for things or whatever, this was the one where Putin said that he would like Bill Browder. He would like Trump to, because I think Putin was handing over some, I don't know if it was hostages or people. I don't know who it was. Maybe it was people who had died on their soil. Whatever it was, he was giving it to Trump. And in return, he asked Trump if he could have Bill Browder. That's what was on Putin's mind. So don't tell me that Putin is not still pissed about that. And Bill Browder right now is trying to make it sound like the Magnitsky Act is about like a patriotic citizen or whatever, but it protected his ass too. You have to hear this guy. It's unbelievable. All right, let's listen.
So it's the most absurd thing I've ever heard.
So, Bill Browder, this is a serious show. This isn't the conspiracy hour. So just tell us, what do you think? Why is Donald Trump talking the way he talked on Monday about it being a great idea?
It's not the conspiracy hour, so I'm not going to engage in any conspiracy theories. All I can say is that on one hand, his administration has been absolutely appropriate and tough on Russia. Mike Pompeo.
Let me just pause it there for a second. This clown that's talking right now is not even a citizen of the United States. Okay, he is nothing other than a person who goes from country to country and makes money off of other people and steals and robs their system. Allegedly, this is all speculation. This is not, you got to do your research. This is not 100%, unless you look into it really deep. And then maybe you can see the pattern here with this guy. What I'm saying though is Bill Browder, if you find out how he operates, and now he's sitting here on TV, he basically was shitting his pants because before Trump started talking to Putin, the Magnitsky Act really cooled shit off. Okay. Like it really cooled shit off with Russia and the US. Like it was like starting another campaign against the Russian Empire. I don't understand why we're like upset with, like, I understand how we got here, but value wise, it never made sense to me. And I never quite understood why Russia was suddenly this bad place. I never felt that way. Like, just when I think of it, I just didn't feel that way about it. Like some countries you think of and you're like, that's kind of scary. I don't know if I'd want to go there. Russia is not one of those countries. It's largely Christian, I believe. And, I'm not saying that it doesn't have its problems. I'm just saying they really made it out to be the boogeyman. And so when Trump is trying to repair the relationship, as he should, because we should be friends with Russia, they're huge and they've been around for like thousands of years. I mean, we need them, right? It's just a fact. Okay. I don't know why they're the boogeyman, but they should, I don't think they should be. Regardless, that's why this guy, Bill Browder, is now shitting a brick, because if Trump gets too close with Putin, he might just get rid of the Magnitsky Act, because it really is caused a lot of problems, guys, with Russia. I don't know if Trump has thought through that at all. Like, I have to re-examine it now. I'm really curious how much Trump has thought through how the Magnitsky Act has caused so much damage. I mean, there's other stuff with Russia that has caused damage, and I'm not blaming it on one person in particular. I'm just saying it's insane how some people, they can just come in and it's unbelievable what this guy Bill Browder did. I'm sorry. Let's just listen.
Pompeo, the Nikki Haley, all Jim Mattis, all of the people who work around him have been tough on Russia. They've been supplying weapons to Ukraine. They've been sanctioning Russian.
Did you notice all the people he talked about? Trump's first cabinet, he's surrounded by Judas. I mean, unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Oligarchs. They've been attacking Russian mercenaries in Syria. It's a real proper policy towards Russia. But then you get this individual, the president of the United States, in a secret meeting with the president of Russia and coming up with this nonsense, it raises every question. This is effectively a litmus test for Donald Trump.
What conclusion do you draw? Why does he?
Which is absolutely hilarious. Once again, and first of all, I have something to say about Donald Trump when this clip is over, just because I have to say it before we go on to the next clip. But this guy, Bill Browder, who's like CEO of Hermitage Capital, which is not even existing in the United States. Again, gave up his citizenship so he doesn't have to pay taxes on stuff he makes. All right. Has all this to say about litmus test for Donald Trump, right? Why is he? It's because he has connections, is why. And he's shitting himself, is why. Okay. That's why he's on this interview. That's what this is. It's crazy.
Why does he act the way he acts, Donald Trump?
I can't interpret his behavior. I don't think anyone can. It's odd. It's insane. It doesn't make any sense, and it's not in the U.S. national interest. And
really, it's odd and it's insane. Listen, Donald Trump. I mean, I'm just really upset about something he posted. I'm not going to go into it too much, but for this guy, what he's saying is, oh, it's just odd. It's insane. What for the president? I don't care who it is. Okay. For the president to like meet with world leaders and stuff, like that's odd. Why is that odd? Like it's odd because you're scared, because if there's some kind of reparation with the relationship, you're in deep shit. That's why.
And so he's going on and on about making America great again and America first. It's not America first to hand over 10 loyal servants, patriotic servants of the United States who have been trying to protect the United States from Russia to the Russian gangsters. Doesn't make any sense.
If you have ED, you might need to work on your mental game. When you're around.
Hold on for a second. All right, yeah. So I want you to hear this guy's perspective on Bill Browder. Let me go with this one. I'll share this tab instead. Oops. Hold on, guys. Sorry. Can you guys hear me still? All right, let me see, guys. All right, here we go. I would play Lee Stranahan's work on this, but it's none of it can be found, and that's what his son said in the X post, that they can't find anything. I did post a couple shows when he and John Kiriakou were doing the backstory. They were live in Washington, D.C., like around dinner time. And I would call in sometimes there, and I posted a couple clips, but they're small. I'm trying to find the rest. Anyway, listen, this guy, I believe, is going to explain this a lot more succinctly than I am. So hopefully he won't mind that I'm sharing this. This was made a while ago. I mean, this story's been around forever, but it never gets picked up because it's complicated. You need to take a little time to understand it. But when I tell you it's worth understanding it, because it does impact geopolitics to this day. What can we do about it? Probably nothing, but I still think it's important to know about it. All right, so let's see. Okay, so I'm just gonna pause it and recap it just so in case you guys are following along here. This man is a Croatian national. I guess he lives still in Croatia. He's a hedge fund. He probably makes a shitload of money. He knew of Bill Browder in those circles because that's what Browder does. He kind of knew of his tactics. And then he finds out that Bill Browder is pushing this Magnitsky Act. He's a big proponent of this Magnitsky Act. Okay. Now, Sergei Magnitsky is an accountant who ended up dying in prison. Honestly, could potentially, it's really hard to know. It'd be like if Julian Assange died before they freed him. He looked pretty sick. A lot of people die in Russian prisons. So it wasn't like they assassinated him, but that's what people were saying is possible. I don't really know. I wasn't there, but it's really sad though. Okay. But Bill Browder uses this man's death as the way to save himself. So let's just listen. Yeah, Bill Browder is now rewriting history and exploiting this man's death for his own purposes to save his own sorry ass from Russia and Putin, the quote gangsters he calls. Meanwhile, Bill Browder behaves just like a gangster. And once again, we got somebody or some other country. I'm not saying Bill Browder is affiliated with any country. I think he's a citizen of England, maybe. I'm not sure. But he gave up his US citizenship. And I know we can't go to Russia. He definitely doesn't want to go there. So, like, wherever he is, why are we protecting? Well, that's why it's worth examining this. Because if you heard this man right here that's talking, what is that his channel is called Public Inquiry, he just said this was the opening salvo of the current United States and Russia Cold War, this fucking Magnitsky Act, okay? And why did this Magnitsky Act come about? Again, if you read the Wikipedia version, it probably still says the same bullshit propaganda. I don't know, maybe it tells the truth now, but if you want to know the truth, it's really to save one man's ass. Okay? You want to talk about causing karma? Bill Browder. They don't need to catch you in this lifetime. You're gonna have karma for a long time. All right, let's listen. Okay, look. Yeah, hold on. Second, guys, sorry. Damn. Hold on for a minute. Okay, can you guys hear me right now? Can you guys hear me? Okay, thank you. Um, it said no sound. I don't know. I don't okay. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and put this back up here. Hold on for a minute. I want to put this back up and I'm gonna go back because you right, I understand. No, I get it. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm gonna put it back up and rewind it because it's really important, and that's the whole point of this. And you guys are hanging with me here, and I appreciate it. I really do. Uh, but here, let me just here we go. All right, let's see if this is gonna work this time here. Hmm. All right, so hopefully you guys can hear this. If you can't, let me know. But he's talking again about how he knows who Bill Browder is. And, this is something a lot of countries do. I think Italy's doing it right now. A lot of countries that are trying to boost their population because a lot of countries around the world are losing their native population. So they'll offer you some kind of bonus to open up a business or move to their town or something. So I think that's what he's describing here. You still can't hear it? Damn it. This is pissing me off. All right, let me just remove it completely. All right, yeah, I got to take this off then. This is really making me irritated. All right, let me do this and start all over again. All right, and then let me just do this too. All right, hey guys. All right, so I'm gonna start it over again, and we'll try it one more time. And if it doesn't work, like I'm not gonna, beat a dead horse. But essentially, this guy Bill Browder is not the greatest guy, allegedly, and he's the reason why there is a Magnitsky Act, which you heard this hedge fund guy from Croatia say it was the opening salvo for the modern day Cold War. Because I remember when everybody started flipping the fuck out about Russia, I'm like, when did we become enemies with Russia again? Because I thought that shit ended in the 80s. I still remember the song. You guys remember the song? I know it was a German song, but it always made me think of like bombs. What was it? The Red Balloon. I love that song, by the way. 99 Red Balloons. Oh, such a good song. Okay. But regardless, Bill Browder, so he always kind of went under the radar, nobody really paid attention to him. But if you just look up and hear him talk on C-SPAN and present this Magnitsky Act, you'll immediately know this guy is full of shit. Okay. Allegedly, my speculation, whatever. Okay. But because I heard he likes to like sue people and stuff. I'm a tiny channel. I have nothing to give him. So I'm just talking about how this guy is really probably the biggest cause of modern day tensions with Russia. All because this guy didn't want to go to a Russian prison. I wouldn't want to go to one either, but he didn't want to face the consequences, I think. I think he might have done something. So that's what I'm trying to have you guys hear this guy say. So what I'm going to do is try to close out some tabs and hopefully, let me just see something here. All right, now let me see. Let me see if this will work. I'm gonna keep my fingers crossed here. Okay, this guy's name is Alex Craner. What's this thing also share? Yeah, that's on there. Okay. What do you say? That I love it. You remember that? Well, my grandmother, my nana used to say that. She had a lot of great sayings like there's more than one way to skin a cat, which like what a weird thing to say, right? Like what it's kind of weird, but it's a saying I use and I know exactly what it means. And if you know the saying, you know exactly what it means too. But why are they saying skin a cat though? It's one of those things then you feel compelled to look up where the saying came from. Anyway, that was one of her sayings. The other one was if you want to dance, you got to pay the fiddler. And another one she used to always say is don't put yourself in compromising positions. So anyway, thanks. I do too. I love it too, right? I appreciate you remembering that. You're not stupid. No, no, no. You're not stupid. Yeah, the hair of the dog is good too. No, a lot of these sayings are if you don't grow up with them or so the first one that we're talking about, if you want to dance, you have to pay the fiddler. Modern day lingo would be fuck around, find out. It's like the old-fashioned way of saying fuck around, find out is if you want to dance. If you want in the olden days, if you wanted to dance, you couldn't just put on the music on the radio or whatever. You had to pay the fiddler. Fiddler could be the devil. It could be an actual fiddler. I mean, there's a lot. Dancing could be dancing. It could be a lot of other things. So it's more of a metaphor for things. So yeah, that's kind of what it is. Right? No, nothing is. No. And they always want you to the whole trick is they don't a lot of these evil people, they obviously do horrible evil deeds. Like I'm not even, that's not but oftentimes they get their minions, which is, people who aren't conscious of what's happening here in this place, to do their bidding. And the minions do it because, I don't know, they want social status, they want to fit in, they're too much of a pussy to stand up and say no. They just want money, they're a sociopath too. I mean, it's so many reasons, right? But when you do someone's bidding, it's actually worse than them asking you to do their bidding. It's actually worse. People think, "Oh, but they told me to do it." No, but you had the choice. They gave you a choice. They asked you to do it. You could say no. Big break, exactly. For no reason. Money doesn't make people happy. We all know that, right? We need, obviously, to live. I'm not saying like, but it's just yeah, I have that other channel I've been posting a lot on, just the shorts, and I slowed my short schedule down because I realized it was probably obnoxious because it was running like every 2 hours. Yeah, yep. That makes me think of that show, I Pet Goat too, when it starts in the beginning and the goat's like, "Meh," and it's like, oh, I hate that. I hate the fucking music on that thing too, the evil ass shit. And they try to say, "Oh, it's a spiritually uplifting thing." No, it's not. I can tell. The minute you put that show on, that's why I never listen to it with the sound anymore. Because you can decipher some of it. People deciphered some of the things they were saying. It was really demonic. Anyway, let's move on to something more interesting. Not interesting, sorry. That's super interesting. More optimistic, less dark. Uh it's like I just refuse to say, I refuse to say that we're like, we can give them as much loosh as we want, and I don't think talking about it is loosh, right? Because that's why I like to talk about subjects other than Idaho or other than other true crime things that I look at, because I'm still interested in that and I can get down into the nitty gritty. But over time, my brain forces me to go up a level, and I think that's where it's important to do that because otherwise you go down a level. And we know what happens when people go down a level. They start to like get into fights with the other creators or the families of the victims, and everything becomes very personal and weird. And that's like one direction. Or you can keep talking about the same thing every day, and eventually that gets boring, or you can continue to do it. I'm still very fascinated with the case and trying to figure it out. But at some point I've got to like look, I'm looking at it from a systematic or systems point of view, as like outside of it. Because when you go back and you look at even 5 years ago, the news, it's like so obvious how much they're lying and stuff and the propaganda. So I'm just trying to really see it. Anyway, hopefully you guys can hear this now. I'm going to try to play this one more time. If it doesn't work, then I'll just link it. And if you're really interested, you can listen. But I do really want you to be able to hear it. So hold on, let's try it.
Of war, your tax bill would be 5% rather than 35%. So it was technically legal for investors to set up shell companies in Kalmykia, so long as there was a local representation, actual offices, and so long as they actually employed physical people to work real jobs at these offices. So many people did this, and it was technically legal, and it didn't create.
Okay, so you guys can hear it now. All right, I'm gonna let it go. So you can hear what he's saying. He's setting it up how like he knows what Bill Browder is and what he was doing, and then there's nothing illegal in the sense of he went to a country that was developing and giving money to investors to invest, but there were certain criteria that needed to be met, And how much of those criteria did he meet? Well, let's listen further. I just want to make one I do have to just make one thing here, which it makes me laugh whenever I think of Monopoly. Yes, but here, unfortunately, in my family, we've ended up creating the Federal Reserve in the Monopoly game, so we're able to keep printing money. I shit you not, my family's crazy with this game, all right? And that's the problem. Okay, they're just printing money. They laugh about it in the Epstein files, in case people don't realize. And the money isn't actually money, it's debt. It's just debt, guys. So it's like pretty fucked up. So yeah, no, I can't stand capitalism, but I can't stand communism either. I don't like either one, guys. I don't like either one. And the truth is, we don't have to like either one. They like to give us the dichotomy. It's this or that. It's this or that. No, no, there's a whole lot other that there's so much more that it could be. Anyway, let me put this back on now. And I'm just gonna look. If you can hear it, then just put the thumbs up again, because I'm going to let it play now for a little while so you can really hear.
Create very many problems. But in Bill Browder's case, the problem is that he never hired the people. They put them down as employees on paper, but they never hired them. These people didn't actually work for Bill Browder's companies in Kalmykia, right? And so,
so were they working for subcontractors or something?
No, they were just supposedly hired on paper. They didn't work for him at all. They were just like individuals in Russia off of the list of these veterans and disabled people whom they put down as their employees, but they didn't really work for them. So when, and I think this was 2002 or 2003, when it came time to file the taxes, and Hermitage Capital filed to pay 5% tax bill, the tax authorities reviewed their case and said, like, no, you're actually not employing these people. They're supposed to work for you. They're supposed to come to your office and do an actual job and get training and so forth. But you're not doing any of that. So your tax bill is 35%. And at that point, rather than the thing to understand about this, it's a little bit legalistic, but Bill Browder was officially the CEO of these companies. One of them was called Dalnaya Step. One of them was called Saturn, or Saturn Invest, or something like this. And Bill Browder was the CEO of these companies, and he was personally liable for filing taxes correctly. Now, when the tax authorities said, no, you owe 35%, not 5%, rather than paying the back taxes, Bill Browder bankrupted the company to say, like, well, too bad, these companies are gone, the money's gone, we can't pay tax. And so from this point on, it's in 2003, the Russian authorities initiated an investigation for tax fraud.
Well, that's quite reasonable, because obviously he's paying tax on profits. So yes, if he didn't make any profits, then he can't. Then it's possible he might go bankrupt. But then he shouldn't be paying any tax anyway if he's made money. And if he's made money, why is he going bankrupt? So I can imagine the Russian authorities really scratching their heads at that point.
Yes, yes. So the investigation had its merits. It wasn't politically motivated, because Bill Browder now wants to represent it as a politically motivated persecution. But that's not true, because at the time, Bill Browder built a reputation as the most outspoken supporter of Vladimir Putin.
Yep.
Okay, yep. So there was no question about him being persecuted because.
So you see how sneaky this mofo is? He used to love Vladimir. He used to love Vladimir Putin. When Vladimir Putin allowed him to come into his country and take all his shit and make money and not pay the proper tax, and maybe or maybe not file bankruptcy or whatever, right? He loved Vladimir Putin. But when they suddenly were like, hey, maybe you guys aren't doing this right, you owe us money, all of a sudden Vladimir Putin is attacking him, and this is a politically motivated investigation. That's how it was presented to the American people, okay? And that's how most people believe it went down. But if you look outside the box, you will find Bill Browder is not even an American citizen. He denounced his citizenship. And he is the only reason why that Magnitsky Act, which essentially it traps wealth in different countries, is what it does. It's really not cool. All right, let me just keep playing it here.
Because he supported opposition or something like this. He was an outspoken Vladimir Putin supporter, and this was well understood. So it was purely a legal process based on the fact that not only did he fail to pay taxes correctly, but once he got the bill to pay the full amount of taxes he was owing, he bankrupted the entities that were owing the taxes. So that's where the investigation starts from. This investigation continued through 2007. Earlier already, it moved from Kalmykia to Moscow on the federal level. And at some point, he was invited to have an interview with the police. They wanted to come over. They wanted to ask some questions. They wanted to see some documents. And Bill Browder instructed his people to ignore the police request. And the police said, fine, you don't have to cooperate. And as they didn't cooperate, then I think this was in June of 2007, his offices got raided. And at the same time, the offices of his legal representative, Firestone Duncan, were raided, where Sergei Magnitsky was the employee. This is how Bill Browder's legal problems in Russia got cooked up and escalated. And he had many options to minimize or straighten out his legal problems by paying the back taxes. This was simply the question of him paying his taxes correctly.
That's all Bill Browder had to do, okay? That is all Bill Browder had to do. He came to Russia because they incentivized, which many countries do. I think Italy's doing it right now. I think Spain's doing it right now. Come here, live for free or whatever. We'll give you a house and money to start a business, whatever, okay? Only in Russia, it was bigger stakes. And, Bill Browder was dealing with millions, allegedly, okay? And everything was going great, like I said, until they started investigating this tax stuff because they felt like he wasn't maybe paying his taxes. And remember, I told you he already gave up his U.S. citizenship because he doesn't want to pay taxes here. So now he doesn't want to pay taxes in the country that is helping him make all this money. He seems kind of selfish, don't you think? All right, so.
Correctly. And so this is issue A. Then there's issue B, because once Bill Browder was kicked out of Russia, there was a completely different level of tax fraud that was organized. It is still not 100% certain who organized it and how, but we know some of the people who participated in it. But basically, here's what happened. A number of Russian-based entities that were owned by Bill Browder's Hermitage Capital Management got ostensibly stolen from him. Now, Bill Browder says that this was done during these June 2007 raids, which were part of his Kalmykia tax fraud investigation. He says that during those raids, the documents needed to steal his companies were confiscated, and that once the authorities confiscated these documents, they re-registered the companies in some common criminals' names. They created phony liabilities against these companies in the exact amount of their 2006 profits, which turned out to be $1 billion, more or less, 900 and some million dollars, very close to $1 billion. And because these entities paid taxes on these profits, which were in the total amount of $230 million, as they created phony liabilities in the amount of this $1 billion, these new owners of the company turned around to the authorities and said, like, as a matter of fact, we paid taxes on these profits, but we have all these liabilities which wipe out the profits. So the profits go to zero. So could we please have those taxes reimbursed? So they filed to have $230 million worth of taxes reimbursed, and the Russian tax authorities paid this money out.
Wow.
Okay, so the conflict about this particular tax fraud is that Russian tax authorities paid out $230 million in tax reimbursements, which were bogus, which were fraudulent. And Bill Browder built up a story accusing Russian police and Russian investigators of perpetrating this tax fraud. Now, he built a case that's credible on its face. As a narrative, it almost works. But a whole series of facts that need to corroborate this story don't add up. And so Bill Browder took his case to the Court of Public Relations. Basically, he wrote his book, The Red Notice, and he's going all over the world, all around, and he's giving his story in speeches, in interviews, in presentations, and so forth. And he's doing this as his full-time job.
Exactly. Like, probably not a good idea to fuck with Russia, okay? Not smart, all right? Like, damn, like these guys, Russian Empire's been around for how long? Yo, like, come on. And Putin, like, I'm just saying. Yeah, this guy's ridiculous. This guy is a freaking man-child. And what pisses me off is, honest to God, I think it's nothing more than just, once again, sorry, I think I'm having a lot of electronic difficulties. Once again, it's just nepotism and sociopathy, that's like winning the day. Nepotism and sociopathy are at play here. I guarantee it. I don't know who Bill Browder's parents are, but like, I'm sure if we look into it, they're people of influence. Okay. They just are. We already know it. And he's clearly a sociopath and a full grown child running around. You should see him. I've watched videos. I gotta see. Let me see if I can find this. I gotta see if I can find this. This is ridiculous. I've watched videos of this man getting pulled over by Interpol. Hold on. This is hilarious. Hold on. Oh, let's see here. Hold on. Sorry, I'm just looking to find this. All right, hold on. I can't find it. Sorry, guys. I'm coming back here. Sorry. I couldn't find it. Damn. All right. Let me just finish playing this.
Essentially, ever since. And he's using, well, yeah, and another detail I have to add is that as a part of all these tax fraud investigations, Sergei Magnitsky was detained for questioning, and he was basically thrown in prison. The condition for his release was that Bill Browder and Hermitage Capital pay the back taxes that they owed, which I think amounted to something equivalent to maybe $20 million. Bill Browder never paid. He refused to.
Do you believe this shit? Okay. This is so disturbing, right? Like, this is so disturbing. The story's coming back to me now. But because Sergei Magnitsky was the accountant and he was Russian citizen, he listened and he went and he did this and he did that, all at Bill Browder's instruction, and he ends up getting arrested and put in a Russian prison. Okay. And then Bill Browder All he had to do was pay the taxes, and that would have gotten Magnitsky out. And he didn't do it. Instead, he went on this big campaign and ran around. And the disgusting part is, and the sad part is, Magnitsky's widow she would never speak badly about anybody because she was too afraid. They did give her some money. She had to worry too much about taking care of herself. And he had some kids. He was young when he died. It's fucked up. All because Bill Browder didn't want to pay $20 million after he made how many billions? It's really disgusting. These people are disgusting.
Okay. And Sergei Magnitsky remained in prisons for almost a year, except that he died before the investigation was completed.
Okay, so there's two questions there. First of all, $20 million is nothing compared to $1 billion in profit. And secondly, Magnitsky just died. I mean, what did he die of?
I think it was heart failure, but there were other problems with his pancreas, and I don't know exactly what is on his death certificate.
But I mean, surely, Bill Browder, I understand, is saying that he thinks he was murdered in prison.
Yeah, Bill Browder claims that Sergei Magnitsky was beaten to death in prison cell by prison guards in full riot gear. There has been several versions of this story, and Bill Browder ultimately backed away from this version of events because, what happens is that the Russian filmmaker Sergei Nekrasov started making the film about Sergei Magnitsky and Bill Browder, a documentary. But when he initiated the film, he was going with Bill Browder's story. And he cooperated with Bill Browder on the scenario, on the scenography, and so forth. And
that's what I started this out with, guys. So now he's talking about that guy, the documentarian, and how he kind of went along with it, and as he realized. So we'll listen to it. That's what I started out with here. It's hilarious. This fucking guy, Bill Browder, is ridiculous.
One of the problems that cropped up is when they wanted to shoot the scene of Sergei Magnitsky getting killed by these riot police in his prison cell, where he was supposedly beaten for 1 hour, 18 minutes. The story went that 8 police officers in full riot gear came in and beat him for 1 hour and 18 minutes. And when they wanted to shoot the scene, Sergei Nekrasov realized that they couldn't fit 8 police officers in that prison cell, and they couldn't even fit 7 police officers in the prison cell. So that was a problem. But when he started reaching out to Bill Browder to say, like, well, there are these problems. Can you please explain to me what's going on? Then Bill Browder suddenly made himself very scarce and wouldn't be answering his phones. And I think it took Andre about 2 or 3 months to track down Bill Browder and to confront him with all these questions and inconsistencies. And then it turns out that there are many, many, many inconsistencies in Bill Browder's narrative.
No, it's fascinating that we've got here something which has been going on right at the very beginning of the big new Cold War, an economic Cold War between the US particularly and Moscow. Hermitage Capital Management, it's an enormous company. Does it still exist or not?
I'm sorry, Tony. I just want to correct you. It's not an enormous company. At its peak, it was a moderately sized hedge fund. Okay, so at its peak, I think they managed $4.3 billion. Now, that's a lot of money, but in the hedge fund industry, that's not a lot of money. That's a small fund. Okay, and maybe in 1997 that was big, but not enormous.
I just have to pause it for there because we got through a lot of it, and I'm not going to play the whole thing. And I'm getting tired, clearly. I can't even speak. I'm not going to play the whole thing. But I just find it, that's how you know it's ridiculous, like how capitalism is ridiculous. These hedge fund people. It's like, it's just ridiculous, guys. Anyway, I felt highly motivated to do this because this is really a good, interesting story. Sorry it was so disjointed, but hopefully you got some of it. Maybe it sparked your interest. You want to find out more about it. Like I said, I'm thinking about going more into like the whole Julian Assange and connecting it with Epstein angle. If people are interested, I'm obviously going to stay on the Idaho 4 case and Turtle Boy. But anyway, all right, guys, thanks for showing up. I really appreciate you guys. Love Giga, RJ, Embray, Julie. Thank you guys. Jules, Mora, I really appreciate all you guys for being here. Lurley, Bones. All right, guys. Hope I didn't miss anybody. Have a good night.